And I continued to use the yellow and white gradient for that stroke. So now I've got those, and again, then I would just draw lines from one of the little lights to the next one and so forth until it looked like a string. But on this one, I just decided to kind of leave that off. So if you want to have if you want to go and put the string in there, you can, or if you want to just kind of leave it as is, just following what I'm doing here, you can do that too. Okay, so now I've got my lights in, and I'm gonna use the selection key to select all of these different lights. And in some places where the flower would be farther away, I made them a little smaller, a little more narrow, that kind of thing. But I'm going to use my selection tool and click on each one of those lights that I just placed. And as I do that, it selects all of them. And so once I've got them all selected, I'm going to go to Edit and Copy, and then Edit and Paste. And once that paste comes in, you can see I've got more lights. I'm going to group these. Just kind of move them off the top, just move them once and then group them. And then I'm going to send that to back. So it looks like we have some lights going all the way around the flowers. So I need to now send, I'm going to Object Send to Back, or Object Arrange Send to Back. Then I'm going to also need to send my black background to back, but I'm going to need to unlock that to do that. In order to do that, I'm going to have to go to Object and Unlock, as you can see, and then Arrange and Send to Back. Okay, and now we can see our, and you can also sort of adjust again a little bit your lights or leave them as is. And I'm going to paste one more time and then move off one more time. But this time I'm going to just kind of randomly place these where I feel like there should be some more light. And again, as you do that, you can make them bigger, you can make them smaller, depending on where you place them. And I like the small little lights. I think they're really cute in combination with those bigger lights. So you can just kind of play around with it until you get it the way that you want. And you can even copy and paste in more lights if you really like lights, or just use what's here and arrange them like so. And we really want to kind of just go with areas where we need to have maybe a little bit of an extra glow. And now I'm just placing the remaining lights on top of the lights of the same size in the same position, because it just gives it a little bit of extra glow effect. I think that looks really nice. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to do is click Save again. Because if you probably know when you work with something like Illustrator, even if it's auto-saving for you, it doesn't hurt to do it yourself every once in a while. Okay, so I've also copied that first glass that we made, and I'm going to paste that and bring that to front. And now I'm just going to adjust in my gradient. I'm going to make this a linear instead of a radial gradient. And I'm going to bring the black out a little bit more, so we've got just a little bit of hint of light over on the left side of the flowers. Okay, and then I'm just going to lower the opacity just a little bit more, make that look as reflective as possible. And I'm going to get my pen tool, and we're getting close to the end here. I'm just going to, in little increments again, just make sort of a little area for light glare down at the bottom, and also make it seem a little bit more 3D. So I'm going to click on that, and that is also going to be the black filled with the black and white gradient, so you can choose that from your gradient panel. But I'm going to pull the black up so that I'm also going to set the opacity there a little bit. Then I'm going to pull that black up a little bit so that it is a little bit higher. So there's just a little hint of light on the side there, and then we can see a little bit more reflection. I'm also going to make a similar, I'm going to lower the opacity on that again a little bit, adjust that. And then I'm going to make a similar light area up at the top, again using the pen tool. So just little increments and the gradients automatically coming into it, which is kind of helpful. But if it doesn't automatically on yours, you can again choose it and set the gradient in there. Once I've got the shape that I want, I'm going to smooth that out a little bit. I'm also going to use my smooth tool to smooth that out a little bit and go around the bottom, and both the bottom and the top, so that looks as smooth and sort of glass-like and natural as possible. And once I'm happy with that, I'm just going to move that into place a little bit, and I'm going to lower the opacity on that. So again, it's just kind of a hint that that's there. And then I'm going to go to stylize and feather. And so I'm going to do about just a little feather on that, and if it doesn't show up the first time like it did for me, I'm going to have to apply a new effect. I'm going to bring the size of that up to 0.125, and that's perfect. So that fades right nicely into that. I'm going to set the same effect, the same feather effect, onto the bottom, and I'm going to click OK. And then the next thing that I'm going to do is save again before I go on. And now we're all finished. So what we're going to do is we're going to export this as an image. So I'm going to File, Export As. I'm going to choose JPEG and common image file, and then click OK. Once that saves, it's going to save as a different version. So we'll have the Illustrator version, but we also have our JPEG, and I'm going to open that up. And then I'm just going to crop it because I've got some extra stuff down at the bottom, and we can just easily crop that like if you're in a preview on a Mac, which is what I'm in right now. So then once we've got that, just save that, save that version of the file, and we're all set. And I just wanted to show you this is the version with the little strings attaching the lights together. So if you want to have that, again, it would be, I didn't include it in the tutorial, but it would be by using just the basic brush tool, and then setting that under default next to brushes up near the top of your screen to the second option down, which is the thick thin option from the pull down menu. And I set that on 1 point in certain places, and then about 0.75 in other places, depending on how thick or thin I wanted it. So you can have, again, either version with the strings or without, but that's how to add those. And again, those the gradient on that would be the yellow to white gradient that we used for the lights themselves.